A short, blunt message, one that summed up an entire diplomatic disaster, was fired off from Donald Trump's inner circle. And just like that, a crisis erupted, right as the White House was scrambling to paint a rosy picture of the Alaska summit.
You just see what's going on, what's inside both of these people's heads. But as I'm watching this, I got a text from someone in the close Trump circle, and it just said one word.
Does that mean we're all? Does that mean America's?
Well, let's recap. I don't know. I mean, this is all it said. I felt it was not in the spirit of things to go back and say, what does mean? What are you talking about? So we have to read the tea leaves here. And so to recap, so Trump scheduled this summit meeting impulsively last week, and really the point, and certainly this was what people in the White House were saying, that it was another effort to distract from Epstein.
That message wasn't just some curse word, it was a death knell for the credibility of an entire administration. A bitter admission from Trump's own inner circle that their president had been played by Vladimir Putin right on American soil. The disaster in Alaska wasn't a one-off moment. It was the culmination of years of failures, weakness, and unanswered mysteries that have haunted Trump. The embarrassment actually began before Air Force One even touched down in Anchorage. Trump kept slipping up, calling Alaska Russia. A glaring cognitive stumble the whole world noticed, and one Putin surely didn't miss. Even the media outlets usually friendly to him couldn't spin away from that brutal reality.
Wow, this press conference between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin in Alaska could not have gone worse. Whatever went down in that meeting was a total disaster. Even Fox is saying that whatever the heck just took place was a utter failure, because Fox says they've never seen Donald Trump like that.
The stage was set for a disaster. Trump didn't fly to Alaska to negotiate peace. He went there hunting for an escape hatch. For 6 weeks, the ghost of Jeffrey Epstein kept looming, a story that refused to die even though its central figure was long buried. Trump was desperate for a big distraction, a headline-grabbing stunt to shift the narrative, and he chose Putin. He convinced himself he could dangle peace in Ukraine as a bargaining chip, trading it for silence on the Epstein files he had promised his MAGA faithful he would release. It was a reckless gamble, built on the blind confidence of a man who still calls himself the master negotiator. The reality was the exact opposite. The press conference was short, bizarre, and hollow. Trump looked defeated, sloppy, frail, and visibly diminished. His voice cracked like he was on the verge of tears as he forced out empty cliches about a productive meeting that absolutely no one believed.
Mr. President, that was very profound, and I will say that I believe we had a very productive meeting. There were many points that we agreed on, most of them, I would say, a couple of big ones that we haven't quite gotten there, but we've made some headway. So there's no deal until there's a deal.
No deal until there's a deal. That nonsense line became the perfect summary of the entire trip. No deal, no ceasefire, nothing. Trump abruptly cut off the press conference, refusing to take a single question. Lunch was canceled. Both leaders bolted as if fleeing the scene of a crime. And Trump's frantic exit off stage was nothing short of humiliating. The whole spectacle felt staged, like a clumsy theater production. But even the staging backfired. Instead of projecting strength, it exposed weakness. The attempt to paper over emptiness with pomp only deepened the divide in media coverage, showing that while Trump's machine managed to fool some, it couldn't fool everyone.
Well, I don't know. I mean, my sense is, I found the contrast today between the New York Times coverage and the Washington Post coverage really interesting, because the New York Times concentrated all on, their coverage was about the choreography of this, the orchestration of this. That was their lead, whereas the Washington Post lead was Trump got.
The White House tossed out the bait, and the New York Times swallowed it whole. They focused on the red carpet, the plane show, the glittering facade. Meanwhile, the Washington Post cut straight to the bitter truth. America got nothing, and Trump had failed. It was a familiar tactic on full display. When you've got no substance, sell the performance. For Americans who only skim the headlines, the image of a president standing next to a world leader might create a vague illusion of success. But for anyone looking closer, it revealed just how diminished, weak, and humiliated America has become in this scandal-soaked presidency. Putin, on the other hand, played the role of master manipulator to perfection. He came to Alaska, conceded nothing, and walked away with everything he wanted: a high-value photo op, international legitimacy, and the image of a United States that looked feeble and easy to push around. He didn't even bother to hide his contempt, mocking Trump openly on stage with a smug invitation to Moscow.
Again, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much, and we'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but I can see it possibly happening. Thank you very much, Vladimir. And thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Trump looked rattled, on the verge of tears. He was completely overshadowed. Putin didn't just win, he twisted the knife, reminding everyone that the war in Ukraine wouldn't have happened if Trump were still in office. That wasn't praise. It was a blunt declaration that Putin could have taken whatever he wanted from a weak American president. Senator Adam Schiff had pegged this relationship correctly a long time ago.
Senator, earlier this year, we heard that you said specifically that Putin views Trump as a, quote, child who can be easily controlled and manipulated. Do you still believe that?
I do.
This wasn't just a diplomatic failure. It was a moral stain that can't be washed away. An American president literally rolled out the red carpet and applauded a war criminal indicted by the International Criminal Court for abducting tens of thousands of Ukrainian children.
The Putin-Trump summit was a disaster, as predicted. Maybe the most unforgivable part is just the legitimization of Putin's war crimes. Donald Trump talking about what a good friend Vladimir Putin is, standing with him on American soil, while at the same time Putin is murdering, butchering thousands of Ukrainian civilians, innocent civilians, kidnapping Ukrainian children. That's a moral stain on our nation that is never going to wash away.
Trump's weakness isn't limited to foreign policy. It reflects something deeper, something built into his character. He always bows to the strong. He idolizes dictators because he craves the kind of absolute power they hold, the kind he knows he'll never truly have. This failure was so bitter that even one of his former advisors was forced to admit it.
Zelensky was not told any of this before this press conference. It's far from over, but I'd say Putin achieved most of what he wanted. Trump achieved very little. And I will say one other thing. I thought Trump looked very tired up there. I mean, very tired. Not disappointed, tired. And we'll have to reflect on what that means.
Tired. That's the key word. Trump's energy looked drained. Maybe from being squeezed by Putin, or maybe from the cognitive decline everyone can see. And the fury inside the White House after that attack message leaked was proof enough. Trump wasn't angry about failing. He was angry that the truth of his failure had been exposed. Why does Trump act this way? That question has haunted American politics for years. It goes beyond simple admiration for strongmen. It points to something deeper, darker.
No, and actually, I'll give you and this occurred to me as I was thinking about this today, going back to what does Vladimir Putin have on Donald Trump? And during the first administration, at some point, Epstein told me that he had gone on a secret trip to Moscow to meet Putin.
The Epstein-Putin-Trump connection is a terrifying unknown. What did Jeffrey Epstein tell Vladimir Putin about Donald Trump? This is no longer just conspiracy talk. The theory has been reinforced by people once inside Trump's own circle, like Steve Bannon, who argue the entanglement isn't only about dirty secrets, but also about money.
Bannon would speculate that that Putin has something on him, Bannon at one point, sort of enumerated all of the things that Putin might have on him, but then went on to sort of talk about Putin's enormous, not only Putin's personal enormous wealth, but the enormous wealth of so many others that he controlled. Therefore, you could not be, as Bannon described Trump, a money grubber on international levels without crossing paths with Putin or Putin's money or Putin's capital at so many various points.
The financial entanglement theory explains a lot. It explains why Trump, who calls himself the master negotiator, behaves like a puppet. It explains why he's so willing to sacrifice America's interests just to please a dictator. If Putin controls the money flows Trump or his organization depend on, then that obedience isn't a choice. It's an obligation. America may well be led by a man with crippling financial conflicts of interest, tied to a geopolitical adversary. And the weakness didn't stop there. The U.S. delegation was woefully unprepared and unqualified. Trump didn't bring seasoned diplomats or Russia experts. He brought golf buddies and sycophants.
And is there any role here for Steve Witkoff and Marco Rubio? Were they in the room with him? I know initially it was going to be the two of them just together with the translator.
Well, I think it's an interesting point. Neither of these guys has an expertise in this. Neither of these guys have been, spent their careers traipsing the world, trying to make, accommodate and understand and negotiate with leaders of foreign countries.
Bringing Steve Witkoff, a real estate mogul, into a global security summit made it crystal clear Trump sees foreign policy as just another real estate deal, and he only trusts people from his business circle. The contrast couldn't have been sharper. On one side, Putin, a trained former KGB officer who knows every detail of the power game. On the other, America, sending in what looked like an amateur team to play at the World Cup. Trump's submission to Putin isn't just a personal flaw. It carries devastating consequences for the U.S. and the world. It emboldens aggressors, it weakens alliances, and it turns democracy into a punchline. It also exposes the rot inside America's own political system. Republicans, terrified of being primaried by Trump, chose silence, cowardly, complicit silence.
It is time for us to say, Mr. President, guess what? Russia invaded Ukraine. Can we at least agree on that one? Is there anybody in here that has enough courage to say that Russia invaded Ukraine?
You can have my time.
And this is yet the problem.
That silence is complicity. It allows Trump to keep pushing his agenda, unchecked. The failure in Alaska didn't humble him. It only pushed him to double down on consolidating power at home. When he can't win on the world stage, he turns to every trick in the book to secure a win on his own turf.
At this very moment, they are trying to break us. They do this because they are afraid. They fear this power that they see here today. They panic because they realize if they are unsuccessful in this theft of the election of 2026 right now in the summer of 2025, if they cannot maintain their purchase on power in the House of Representatives, then there will be a check on their lawlessness.
The American people are the ones paying the price. Trump's weakness abroad undermines national security, while his actions at home corrode democracy itself. The gerrymandering schemes in Ohio, Texas, Florida, and North Carolina aren't just politics as usual. They're systematic efforts to strip citizens of their right to vote. Millions of Americans stand to lose their voice. Meanwhile, the economy reels from erratic policies, and the real issues go unaddressed. But the fight against this trend is happening at the local level, where leaders like Greg Casar are working to rally communities and push back.
So once we send the Greg Abbotts and the Donald Trumps the dustbin of history where they belong, we will build a new kind of Democratic Party that gets big money out of politics. And instead of taking rights away from people, how about we give people their rights back?
But this fight is an uphill battle. The Alaska disaster laid everything bare. It revealed a president who is weak, easily manipulated, and possibly compromised by a foreign power. It revealed a political party that abandoned its principles in blind loyalty. Trump's rage at being called out by his own advisors was the desperate scream of a man cornered, realizing that no amount of power could hide the truth. And the American people? They've been dragged in as unwilling spectators, left to pay the heavy price for this miserable theater.